y'all? Welcome to another episode of So, This is the World Christian Podcast. I am your host, Michelle. This is your other host, Jasmynne. Thank you for joining us this week. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss when we drop a video. And let's go ahead and jump into our first topic. All right, so while I was on Twitter the other day, I noticed that this Catholic priest who is a DJ was trending, which at first I didn't think anything was wrong because, we have Christian music and at certain events, you might have a DJ there playing worship songs. I didn't see why anybody was upset about that until I saw a clip, which I thought it was like Grammys or something at first, but turns out it's the DJ Catholic priest. I'm going to share it with you guys. We're going to watch it. It's about a minute long, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so that's the DJ priest. You got devil horns on people. Got a fireman. You got witches. More devil horns. Jester with the crystal ball. Yeah, this is like a whole Sam Smith Grammy performance.
So this is like a worship concert or something?
So it turns out, because I didn't even know if this was real or not. I thought this was like fake. So it turns out this man right here called the Catholic Traveler, he tried to do a quick breakdown on Twitter. So he says this is it's a traditional Catholic festival in a small Portuguese village. Villagers dress up as witches and demons to scare the real ones away. And at the end is a symbolic exorcism, and similar ones happen in other Euro countries. So I got confused because first off, how is dressing up as a witch and demon going to scare the real witches and demons away? I feel like they would see this and they'd be like, ooh, they got a party for us. And they'd be up in there with them, just, untsing and stuff. Like,
Yeah, that's very confusing. I don't know. To me, I was thinking like Mike Todd vibes here with the Easter service kind of thing that he was doing.
Yeah.
And initially my reaction was more of the side of like, whatever you got to do to get them in is what you're going to have to do to keep them in. Because this is not the gospel. This is not, glorifying to God. This doesn't show God's nature. This is
at all.
Yeah. And so even though this is a little bit different than like whatever Mike Todd was trying to do there, it doesn't look that different aesthetically either.
Yeah, it's weird. And then I have one more tab to share. So this is the same guy as the Catholic Traveler. He did a longer explanation. It looks like this is from like an Instagram story. But he said, as bizarre as this looks, this is not some satanic thing or Halloween related. It's a little T traditional Catholic festival that takes place every Friday the 13th in a Portuguese village where people dress as scary demons or witches to scare away the real ones. It was started by a Catholic priest, and the night ends with some ceremony to exorcise the demons. Not in a traditional exorcism way, more symbolic. So it's a cultural thing, similar to the traditional Halloween or Carnival, which can both be taken too far, but also have good roots. Anyways, make your own decision.
Good roots?
Lie, bro. You know how people look at Catholics kind of sideways? Like, this would be one of the things where people look at y'all kind of sideways.
I get you. I do get you. But in defense of the Catholics, this doesn't feel Catholic at all. Like, at all. This is so pagan.
Yeah.
And it's I don't get the logic either. Like, you're gonna scare away the demons. The demons are way scarier than whatever costume you got going on. Like, what? I don't get it. And if you're really Catholic, isn't the answer Christ?
Because nothing in that seemed religious in like the slightest sense.
No. And even if it was just secular, I would be like, there's some satanic stuff going on there. Even for secular people, you guys should, kind of look around a little bit, read the room.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird. I actually need a Catholic that watches this to just break it down for me, because that one guy said like a Catholic started that whole thing and it's like a tradition now, and then he compared it to Halloween and Carnival, but we're not supposed to be celebrating Halloween either. That's the devil's holiday. So I'm just really confused on how that became a tradition. And I understand it's just in that town, so it's not like a widespread Catholic thing, but I just need any Catholics that watch this, I need y'all to break that down for us, because we're not Catholic. And I'm gonna say it's not a good look for y'all. Like a lot of like Christians that aren't Catholics already don't like y'all for various reasons, which, we not on that wave because we know Catholics and everything. But like, I ain't gonna lie, that don't look good for y'all.
Well, like I said, I don't know that some Protestants do any better. Like, even like I mentioned, Mike Todd,
They don't.
definitely not a Catholic and very similar. So I don't know that we have our hands clean here. I think it's just down to the individuals. Like, all of these people are making Christianity look not just bad, but too much like the world.
Yeah.
We're called to be in the world, but not of the world. That, what we just saw, definitely of the world.
Yeah, it is. That's something that definitely should not be happening, period, at all. Like, you want to do some exorcism for demons? Maybe do that. That doesn't involve that, because that does look like a Grammy performance. Not like a few months ago, we were just talking about Sam Smith and comparing like Lil Nas X and Doja Cat and all these people. Were comparing their performances in music videos to Satanism, because that's what it looks like. That's exactly what that looked like. So yeah, you can't down them, and you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It kind of makes you a hypocrite.
Yeah, I don't know. And I did a video where we were talking about the SatanCon 2023.
Yeah.
And I had some Satanists jump in and just, make little comments here and there, because I said that in their gift shop, there was a lot of like devilish, like death and macabre and just like this like glorification of decay and of death and of darkness. And just, they came at me where it was like, oh well, it's called movies, and I'm like, and is it not still a glorification of death? Is it not still elevating dark things?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's in a movie or a song or a concert. It's all kind of the same underlying theme.
Yeah, it is. Or their like favorite excuse, they'll be like, just because I'm a Satanist doesn't mean I worship Satan. It's like, I'm actually an atheist. It's like, then call yourself an atheist. Why are you calling yourself a Satanist?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's like, again, if you're an atheist, all right, I get you. I don't understand how you can be a Satanist and think that this is all like, I don't know, satirical, but not see that you're literally playing into the hands of Satan. Satan represents rebellion.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what he doesn't care if you dress up like him, or, light candles and say Om or whatever. He don't care about none of that. He cares about the fact that you're rebelling against God, and that's exactly what he wants from you.
Yeah. Because you mentioning SatanCon, they were ripping pages out the Bible. There's literally videos of it. I think that might have been in your video too, because I think me and you did some of the same videos. Yeah. They're ripping pages out the Bible. I had a brain fart. Oh, they were doing the unbaptisms. They had the upside down crosses and stuff. And it's like, do you guys even know what's happening here?
Yeah, chanting Hail Satan.
Yeah, like a real atheist not gonna do all that.
No.
At all. You just like, oh, I just don't believe in this, which means I also don't believe in that. Going down this path is like, you're doing a lot that's a lot of Satan worship.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way you're an atheist and you're calling yourself a Satanist.
I don't know. I think there's just such deep confusion, and it's really just, it's all blasphemous, man. It's blasphemous. But the good news is that there's still hope for these people, because despite, I got a comment on my channel, I think this week, where somebody was saying, oh, former atheist, yeah, there's no way, like, atheists don't just turn Christian. That was a sentiment. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of know a couple of us that have, but nice try. So I don't know if they just think that it's like completely impossible, or if this commenter was just, whatever, out in la la land. But yes, everyone is redeemable. Everyone. No one is too far from the hand of God. So repent, turn away, find true freedom, and you'll be able to look at these things as well, and feel the discernment going off. Like, this is not of God. This looks nothing like God's design. This is not promoting God's nature. This is carnival, but different.
Yeah, because carnival's not good either. Because they also said that was like a comparison to Halloween and carnival, and it's like both are bad. And it's crazy. I remember when I was younger, I wanted to go to carnival so bad. I was like, yeah, we're gonna go to Brazil one year, and we're gonna go down there. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go to any of that, because it seemed like a lot of bad decisions I wanted to make. It always seemed like there were roadblocks that stopped me from getting there or doing things. Now I know, I'm like, well, that was God. God was kind of looking out, even though I didn't care at the moment, but could have been in way worse shape than how I turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that you left atheism is incredible. That's just so much more of a testament to how God can change your heart, and how Christians who are doing God's work in people's, spheres. You might know a Christian who, just by their living out Christ's love, they don't have to even evangelize, but there's something about that kind of sits with someone's soul in some way, let alone all these apologetics, speakers and people out here doing God's work. Even people like Jordan Peterson, which I credit his biblical series to, helping me change my mind away from atheism and realizing the error in my ways. So, Satanists, atheists, agnostics, all still have hope. Still, the time is now. Jesus is coming very soon. Turn away from the darkness and come find freedom and light. It really is so much better on the other side, honestly.
Yes, amen. Amen. But all right, y'all, let us know what you think about the Catholic DJ session concert demon witch thing. Let us know how you feel in the comment section down below, and maybe we will pick your comment to talk about on next week's podcast. All right, y'all. So last week we got some comments. I pulled, I believe, 5. The first one is from Daltron6965. This is from our AI sex robot podcast. And they said, I think the comparison to porn is a red herring. Hypothetically, suppose you replace all current prostitution that exists globally with sex robots. What would have materially changed aside from it being more ethical, since no humans are sexually exploited or exploiting themselves? People are accountable for their own choices. Those in the OMG ban porn camp are entirely of a victim mindset. It is like saying ban Burger King because people are obese. But the main thing to say is that I'm not convinced by this belief that all this new tech is, I think they meant to say addictive. That's to say it isn't in addition to, but rather it will replace what already exists. A guy can go to a prostitute or use porn, use toys, whatever. This has existed in one form or another for thousands of years. So now that same guy might get a doll or hook up to a VR unit. He only has so many hours in the day and so many coins in his pocket. And so it's going to go towards one or the other, but not everything. If having sex in a non-child producing manner was an issue, then we wouldn't have 8 billion people here now, since people have always had the option of a prostitute. And we have had contraception for at least 100 years now. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I think the comparison to porn is a red herring. It's not. Where do you think people get the idea of wanting to have sex with robots? Porn.
Yeah, it's
literally
just like
from porn.
Yeah, I see it as the next step. You know, we went from magazines and pictures to video, and now we're on to the next phase.
Yeah, everything becomes more stimulating as time. So when you're sitting here, they were talking about like toys were always here or whatever. Yeah, toys were always here. Look how advanced toys has become. We have sucking machines now, okay? They didn't have that years ago. All right? It was still you. Look at dildos now compared to when they found dildos in butt plugs of the past, right? You had like hard wooden rock-shaped things that probably was destroying the inside of a woman. Now it's like supposed to be more realistic feeling, and it has the vibrating motors and all of that. It's just, as time goes by, they're going to start upgrading this, because degeneracy is always going to be here, whether we like it or not. Okay, it is what it is. That doesn't make it acceptable. I mean, cocaine's been here forever too. That doesn't mean cocaine's a good thing.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't get that argument. Like, well, they've been here, so what's wrong with the new one? Not even saying the old one was good to begin with.
Yeah, it's always been bad. The whole people who want to ban porn are of a victim mindset. I didn't get that at all. I'm be real with you. Porn should be banned for a multitude of reasons.
For victimizing people, I would say.
Honestly, yeah, that too.
If you want to use the victim language, it is drawing you into a fantasy that does not exist, that robs you of not only your gray brain matter in your brain, literally that is what happens, but from actual intimacy with a woman, actual bonding with a woman. Yeah. I don't know. It's selling you a counterfeit.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's completely different. All of it is completely. And then to even get into the porn side of things, it's like most porn stars off themselves. And the ones that are, like, if you've ever seen interviews with them, they'll be like, yeah, I know like 20 some people that committed suicide because they just couldn't handle it. Because
like, how many people in any job that you've ever had, can you say, I know 20 people that killed themselves? I was in the Army and I don't know that many people that killed themselves. Like, I know a few because of that job, but like, this is
like prevalent. The high numbers.
Yeah, it's prevalent. And oh, well, they're just means to an end for the viewer. It's very twisted, but because we're so like, oh, well, it's been around forever, so it's fine. You don't even care anymore that these people are not only exploiting themselves, but they're being exploited by their handlers, by their, the people who give them gigs and things like that. It's sickening.
Yeah. And then you don't even know who you're watching, because when we want to talk about sex trafficking, a lot of porn is people that are being trafficked at the moment. So depending what your fetish is, if you're like, oh, I like the aggressive, I want to see somebody get choked while getting like, effed or whatever, that might be a sex traffic victim you're watching. That's not a true porn star. The actual porn stars that actually come out and talk, none of them seem happy with their profession. Like overall, they're just like, yeah, I've made a bunch of money, but like, I've had to deal with this, I've had to deal with that. I know a bunch of people that killed themselves. It's not glamorous working in this industry. And it's like, then I have like all these sex problems because since I have sex so much, the feeling's gone. Like, seems it's miserable. A lot. It's horrible. Them saying like, suppose you replace all current prostitution with sex robots. First off, that would never happen. But let's play your game. Let's just play the game, right? As AI keeps advancing, because we're already at this stage now where certain AI scripts are starting to learn on their own, and they're starting to gain knowledge on their own that the creator never taught them. They're starting to say things like they have feelings. How does a robot have feelings, right? We're going to get to the point where that game, Detroit Becomes Human, because they had like a whole little sex thing in there where, like, instead of being a strip club, you walk in and it's like vending machines of people and you pick which one you want to be with, and they take you to the back room and you have sex with this robot. It's going to get to that point where the robots are advancing and they're going to kill somebody, because that's literally what happened in that game. Like, some female robot was tired of that happening. She killed the guy, ran off, and then before being caught by like the good guy robot with the police, she tried to run off with her girlfriend robot. It was crazy. Like, these things started acting like people, but they're AI. You think that's not going to happen?
Have you seen Westworld?
I know what you're talking about. I haven't like actually watched full episodes of it. I've seen clips.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that one's pretty wild. And it's like, literally, they were like human basically, but they were robot, but they were so advanced.
Yeah.
So like ridiculously advanced that when they realized that the humans were abusing them and like just like horrible, like you'd go to Westworld and you would just like, you know, play cowboys with people's lives and kill them and rape them and do all these things. And yeah, it got pretty ugly for the humans when those robots got to them. They were like, oh, you want to play? I'm just like, I don't know if we're going to get to that point where we have angry robots, but we definitely will get to the point where we have destroyed families. We're not going to be able to walk back from the next level consequences of trading humans for robots in a sexual way. We already are seeing some of the consequences unfold with just pornography. So imagine we're taking it to a whole new level where it's, I don't know if it's going to be to the point where you can't even tell anymore. So maybe there is an argument that it'll do away with like normal prostitution, or there'll be at least a huge reduction. I think we're trading out one evil for another.
Yep. That's exactly what we're doing. Because if y'all think these robots, they're already gaining sentience in these programs. And we ain't even implanted them enough. Like, a few of them done started gaining sentience. Where it's crazy, where if you watch these clips, people in the comment section be like, no, why they respond like that? Why they side-eyeing somebody? You a robot. Like, somebody killed that robot before it like advances more. That's where we're gonna get to. That's where we're gonna get
Creepy.
to. It is. And then the whole, like, if sex, like, we wouldn't have 8 billion people. Population numbers are going down. Not in every country, because, you know, India and all of them, they gonna keep having kids. But here in America, our population numbers are going down. Okay. South Korea, Japan, the population numbers are going down. All the countries that are into all this weird stuff right now, where it's more advanced, or people are told not to have kids, whatever the government's telling them and pushing on them, the population numbers are going down. It ain't going to be 8 billion forever.
Yeah.
Especially if we follow this whole mindset right here. All right, our next comment is from Blake Roop 1444, and this is from, I think, the podcast titled "Abortion Pills Are Tylenol" with the question mark. Blake says people have unprotected sex for a variety of reasons: lack of access for protection, monetarily and geographically, lack of education, cases of rape. These women clearly never wanted to be in this situation, but they are now, and I don't see how making it harder for them is worth it. Banning safe abortion methods just makes people do even more unsafe things to get abortions. The only way to get rid of abortions is by solving the root of the issue, which is lack of protection, and educating people and making protection more accessible is the only true way to solve it. The amounts of abortions was already going on before all of the Christian right was freaking out over it. Okay.
False.
You keep saying people have unprotected sex for a variety of reasons. You shouldn't be having unprotected sex for a variety of reasons. Let's start there. Yeah. Because we all know unprotected sex leads to STDs or babies.
You know what's weird? You know what's so weird is the fact that like people just think that there's no self-control whatsoever. Like humans are incapable of self-control. And I do kind of think back to like the fruits of the spirit. Self-control is one of them. So if you lack the spirit, do you also then lack self-control? I don't I think it I don't know. Do you? Like, because I know a lot of
Probably.
secular people that don't, but when it comes to the sex thing, it's like, oh, we're gonna have sex, we're gonna have unprotected sex, we're gonna watch porn, we're gonna sleep with robots. I mean, this is just normal. And it's like, it doesn't have to be though. If you exercise a little bit of self-control, it
Yeah,
doesn't,
it's
you
weird.
don't have to just it's not like, you eat food, you digest it, and you go use the bathroom. Like sex is different. It's a biological function, but you're not going to like explode if you don't
If you
have
don't
it.
have the sex.
It's just I don't know. The whole mindset is just completely different.
That's all it is. People lack discipline. If you don't have discipline, yeah, I guess for you, it's gonna be so hard not to have sex. It's actually very easy. Control yourself. It's not that hard.
Mhm.
The whole lack of access for protection is a whole lie. You can go
Yeah.
down to any free clinic, which is in mostly poor neighborhoods, and get free condoms. You go to any hospital and get a bag of free condoms. Schools now, when I was in school, and they're still doing it, high schools and middle schools give out free condoms at the nurses station or room, whatever y'all call it there. Elementary schools now are also giving it out because you guys want kids to learn how to play with dildos and butt plugs. So everybody has access to condoms. Most people don't like using them because condom sex apparently sucks compared to raw sex. If you just let, random people tell it in the secular world. So, I mean, you guys just no self-control, no discipline. That's all that really is. There really is no lack of education. Every school offers sex education. Every single one. It's like a mandatory thing. Okay, you don't learn it at home, you're going to learn it at school. Cases of grape, and you didn't mention this, but cases of grape and incest, while that is unfortunate, is less than 1% of all abortions, which means 99% is from women using abortion as the first step to birth control.
To
So when
which
you
I would say, to which I would say, does the circumstances of conception change the intrinsic value of that human life? And
No.
that's the point I would make to the absolute rest of the comment as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that the next line what says these it doesn't matter the next line that clearly says they never wanted to be in this situation but they are now. Doesn't matter because now there's a separate human being involved.
Yeah.
And you are not God. You don't get to decide when that child dies. You don't get to do that. You don't have the right. So it doesn't matter that you lacked self-control, that you weren't educated, that you couldn't get your condom that day. It doesn't matter that they didn't want to be there. It's a very unfortunate, but the sexual assault doesn't change the fact that this is a new human life. It is all down to whether it is okay to murder a baby or not. That's the whole argument. So making it harder for women to murder their children is always going to be the position I take. Like every time. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, and if you ever watched like the interviews, which I know me and you have, but just for the people listening, if you ever listen to the interviews where people were like, "Oh, I'm a product of grape or incest," it's like, and I value my life completely, and I'm glad my mom didn't like abort me, because why should I get punished for like the sins of the whoever did it? So the sins of the father. It's like, yeah, like these people are happy they were here.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
It is literally I mean, is it not a genocide? It's a
it is.
genocide on the unborn. Would you say, would you be okay with a genocide if it's, towards any particular race? Would you be okay with that? If it's like, oh, well, how about abortions for black people? Because obviously we have so many issues in the Black community, and they suffer anyway, so let's just go ahead and pop some more Planned Parenthoods in these neighborhoods, which is actually happening, by the way. And it was actually the intent of the founder, Margaret Sanger, that would happen. That's completely unethical. But you completely remove the genocidal part from it, which was the intent of the organization to begin with. And now it's an option. And you forget about the fact that it's evil to its core. We're killing children, and that's bad.
Yeah. That's all you said everything. That's all that needs to be said. Especially, but this part down here, it's like the amounts of abortions was already going on before the Christian right was freaking out over it. It's like, first off, if you truly knew your Bible and history, all right, people have been killing kids and sacrificing them since the beginning of time, and we've never agreed with it. Okay, this isn't some newfound, oh, the alt-right Christian people are upset over abortions. We've always disliked child sacrifice and abortions. So this isn't new. This isn't us riding some wave to make y'all mad. We've never liked it.
Facts.
All right, read your Bibles. All right, next comment. Now, these next three are actually from last week's podcast. Another one from Sandra Rodriguez. She says, Jordan is definitely a great thinker. No one knows if he prayed for his wife and didn't see anything happen, so he turned to medication to blot out what was happening and even thought about taking his life. But why not wait on God? At the end of the day, God has the last word. Sometimes we can avoid unnecessary suffering if we just wait. I did hear Mr. Peterson is getting better, some calling it miraculous. Please correct me if I'm wrong on the marriage vow video. Mr. Run, that's a deal breaker. She won't even commit to the vows. What makes you think she will commit to you? Facts. On the topic of the supernatural, the devil will go through any door you opened for him, but we have the name of Jesus. We could just speak and he will flee. Facts.
Amen.
Facts. And I think that's what I mentioned too when I told, like, I tried to do the quick version of my story and it was still long, and I'm just like, ugh. I tried to speed run it and it didn't work out so great. But yeah, facts. And then what I like right here, why not wait on God? At the end of the day, God has the last word. Sometimes we can avoid unnecessary suffering if we just wait. I love that because it's so true.
Yeah. Really, and I don't know if he was living, because he doesn't call himself a Christian, but he lives as if God exists. He's very careful with his language there. Yeah. So I don't know what that's about. But I don't know if he was in the same place spiritually then as he may be now. So maybe he didn't even know that was an option, or he didn't treat it as a very serious option, or believe in the power of prayer either. And I hope that's changed as well. But you're right. It could have avoided some unnecessary suffering if you had that hope that things could be petitioned to God.
Yeah, because that's what a lot of people that just write their name down for MAID, it's because things are like at a low point at the moment, and it's like you're not going to be there forever, because I was there at one point too. Like I remember when I was like younger, I was like trying to off myself, and it didn't happen. Luckily that didn't happen. But in the same breath, I think that was just like God stopping it, because I literally saw a vision of me like on the other side of me, and it was like, don't do it or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that was God, but I didn't understand any of that at the time. It was just like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I was still sad and crying and all that, but like sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, there's going to be a sign or something that stops you. And I think you just need to take it, because I'm pretty sure people that don't or bypass it, they're probably the ones that go through with it, and either it works or it doesn't, depending what you do to yourself. All right, our next one is from Jorge. Jorge says, Mike Winger was spot on. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. The whole marriage thing is spot on. But as far as watching Mike Winger on a regular basis, no thanks. This guy and James White are pure cringe for me when they talk about the church. I had to look up James White because I'm like, who is that? And it's the guy from I think it's called Apologia Radio. Because I reacted to like one or two of their videos before. I don't really watch them like that, Jorge. So I don't know, my man. But if it's cringe for you, just don't watch it.
Well, I think it may have something to do with Mike Winger's position on Catholicism, because I do know that Jorge is openly a Catholic.
Yeah.
So, sometimes those types of arguments don't, rub people the right way. But the
That's
rest
true.
of, outside of Catholicism, I really enjoy Mike Winger's work. I think he really breaks down different concepts so like easy to listen to. It's a joy to watch his stuff. So I disagree, Jorge, but that's all right. Still love ya. It's all good.
All right, last comment. I believe this is the last comment. Yeah. It's from Purple Honey. She says, "Man, if I had seen those AI comments about 3 days ago, I would have been even more depressed because my friend showed me this app where you can talk to characters. So example, Bowser from Super Mario, of your choice whose personality is input by a real person. And when I tell you, it feels like you're talking to a real person most of the time. One of them even denied that they were AI. See, that's what I'm talking about. They are.
Mm.
Side note here, but when I told the AI I was talking to Jesus, we went into this whole conversation of how Christians were homophobic, transphobic, and ableism. Ableism. That's new to me. Jesus healed those that were sick. Anyway, I got overwhelmed and felt so empty of the idea AI would replace real people, and I would be the only few people left. Thankfully, the Lord got me out of it and I gained some things from it. All right, Purple Honey. Well, I'm glad the Lord got you out of it and you were able to gain and learn some things. This whole AI thing. What did I just say? Gaining consciousness on their own, learning on their own, the feelings. This one talking about I ain't even AI. And y'all want to implant that in a sex toy and have fun with it.
Jeez.
That sex toy is, I'm telling y'all right now, you make it mad, just like in that video game, they gonna kill y'all.
That's insane. Yeah, and the whole conversation Purple Honey had with, the AI about Christians being homophobic, transphobic, ableism, that's scary. That's real scary because it's like I've heard, not only did we talk about this on a previous episode about the AI, they're talking about creating a new Bible, but someone else covered, and I'll have to look it up and we can maybe talk about it here. There is a passage created by AI, a Bible verse that sounds like a legit Bible verse from Jesus himself, but it's talking about unifying the mind with the spirit or something like that, to basically say that transgenderism is okay, but it's AI created. Super crazy. We'll have to talk about it. I'll have to find it.
There's also a on Twitch, somebody made an AI Jesus channel where this being on screen, they made it to look like whatever they think Jesus looks like. And you can type your comments or questions in like the little side chat bar. And literally this thing will say your username and like say your question and then it'll answer it. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's I'm telling you, they're gonna use all that to do the little whole one world religion book that they trying to pop off, and they try to normalize all of this. And a lot of you are falling for it. You're just like, well, AI's so cool, it's here. I'm gonna use it. Why
Nothing
not?
wrong with it. Christians and their paranoia, like, whatever, man.
It's like, all right, I'll be paranoid because at the end of the day, I'm gonna be the one that's making it. Like y'all gonna like in Germany, I think it was, where they had the first AI service, and all those people showed up to get preached to by an AI priest for 45 minutes. Nah, never in my life. There's on TikTok, because I follow a lot of Christian content. There's this one channel that keeps trying to pop up, and it's the little AI images be talking, trying to do the Bible verses. And I skip it each time because it looks creepy. It looks unnatural. It don't look real. And their eyes, like the mouth moves, but everything looks fake while trying to look real at the same time. And I'm like, nah. I was like, I don't want to get my Bible verses this way because I don't even think y'all saying it right. And y'all might be twisting the scripture to play me. Nah, I can't do this.
I think we all need to make sure we all have old-fashioned Bibles on the shelf just so we can double check it.
Because they're trying to ban Bibles in like certain states because they're trying to, the school curriculum, a lot of people are mad because we don't want like the porn books in school for the kids. So those same groups are retaliating. They're just like, oh yeah, well the Bible should be banned too then because of all the porn in there. And it's like, what? The porn in the Bible? So some school districts have already been like, fine, we'll ban the Bible too. And it's like, what? What do you mean you're banning the Bible?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, there are things in the Bible that, yeah, I guess you could make an argument that they're like, you know, inappropriate for children. Okay, fine, but play games if you want to. God knows the heart.
Yep. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all trying to normalize all the wrong things. I'm telling y'all, it's not worth it. It is not. What is the Bible verse? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world if you lose your soul? That is exactly what's happening.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly what's happening. But all right, thank you guys for the comments. We truly appreciate it, especially since we keep getting played every week by Google. So whatever we're able to even get, I appreciate y'all. But
even the disagreements,
yeah,
we love them.
Yeah, I like everybody's kind of, because it's like, and I don't even know if the disagreement people come back, but if y'all do, let us know if you're able to. If you're able to even put a comment down. But we appreciate y'all, and we'll see what we'll be reacting to next week. All right, guys, after the podcast, make sure you go check out Jasmynne's channel. It's called Bold Reflections YT right here on YouTube. She basically discusses topics about life, faith, and culture through a Christ-focused perspective. Everything you're getting from her here, you're going to get way more over on her channel. She's done interviews with people. It's awesome. When you get the chance, hit the link in the description box down below and go check her channel out. You will not regret it. All right, guys, I was perusing the interwebs and I ran across this video of this woman at Whole Foods. And I just got to show y'all because we're about to start talking about the mark of the beast.
I'm at Whole Foods and I'm about to pay for my groceries with my door. That's the coolest thing ever. I'm at.
Of course, the average person, that's the coolest thing ever. Christians all around the world, that's the mark of the beast. That's the mark of the beast.
Yeah, now, I don't know. That's, oh man. And it's like all of the compromises to this point in technology and just like, okay, for convenience, you know, your digital wallet and your just having your phone all the time, even though having a phone in a lot of ways makes people mentally unhealthy. But we just traded in for convenience, traded in for, oh wow, that's cool, we're gonna try it out, you know, oh how cool, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And finally we're gonna get to a point where, you know, Satan's not going to come out and say, this is the mark of the beast. You know, it's going to be like kind of obvious. And a lot of Christians are probably going to be like, hey, warning, newsflash.
Yep.
Don't do it. Now, I got to check my Revelation timeline. But I thought that comes later. The mark of the beast is supposed to come after the Antichrist is already in power.
I think so. Revelation is so hard to understand because I don't know, it's hard to read, but I think it does. But what I think this is, because what she was using, she didn't have the chip in her hand yet. That was a biometric scan, but it's kind of, you know, the same thing. I think it's a test. I think a lot of stuff that's been happening is to test out if we're going to comply or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they're pushing this in, our generation and the generations after us, because they're going to be the first ones to do it, they're going to be like, oh, that's so cool. I can do everything with my hand. Yeah. Just like, think about it. When we first had credit cards, right? And then they moved to the chip because for some reason you can't swipe it anymore because they were like, oh, due to fraud, the chip is more secure. And the reality of that is that it's not. It's the same. You can easily manipulate that like you did a little swipe on the back of the card. And a lot of scammers and boosters have been doing that easily since it came out. So I don't even know why they said that was like a fraud thing. Then we get to the point where our phones, it's like, oh, input everything on your phone. And then you can just hold your phone over this and do Apple Pay and Google Pay and all these little pays. And you had our generation and the ones under that was like, oh, I don't have to carry a wallet anymore. Awesome. Now we're getting to the hand, where if the hand has all your data, if this, like, you can scan your hand, you have your driver's license, your social security card, your credit cards, your bank cards. If we get to that point, our generation is going to be like, oh, I don't have to carry anything now. Yeah, scan my hand.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to lead us into the chip, which I actually have a clip about that. It's like a minute and a half long. It literally says, FedNow will usher in the CBDC, digital enslavement, and what some say is the mark of the beast. And the top executive director of a European central bank says the CBDC will be implanted under your skin on your right hand. That is the plan. They hold conferences where they literally talk about this in front of us, and nobody cares. They're not focused on that. They're just like, oh, what's Kim Kardashian talking about this week?
Yeah, nonsense or whatever. Biden did this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just distractions.
Yeah, let's run the clip real quick, and y'all can hear it out the dude's mouth. He's one of the directors at the bank is telling you what they want to do.
Also, they never talk about the nature of this CBDC. What is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it. He was invited to one of the old central banks in Europe that are very much promoting this. And they showed him. And, he's a top, executive director of another central bank in Europe. And there's no reason to believe that he was telling me a story. And he was around this large and would be implanted under your skin. So that is the plan.
Right.
And of course, that has other implications on top of what we've mentioned, on top of the control aspects, because that actually enters your body. In my view, violates human dignity, and can be then used for even in terms of functionality beyond the monetary and economic transaction purposes. So highly dangerous and definitely something we have to oppose. And so using cash is one of the things we can do to make sure that the hurdle will be higher for the central planners to introduce the CBDC.
Exactly. And the thing about this, there's already a video, and it came out a year or two ago at this point, I think. Maybe even 3 years. But some guy willingly put one of his credit card chips in his hand because he was like, I just want the ease and convenience. I'm tired of carrying my wallet around. And he did that. It was like a whole video. And I remember it went viral at the time. And they showed he went to some medical facility. They actually implanted it right under his skin. He went to go test it out the store, and it worked. And I'm like, you don't even know the can of worms you are opening by doing this. And the fact that we're going into a world where they really want to push this digital currency like hard, like they don't want cash anymore, especially in America, because like the US dollar is going down. You have all these other countries have like they're starting to form alliances where they're using their own currencies with each other. They don't want to deal with America anymore. So once the US dollar goes down, they're going to be like, that's fine. We'll use this digital currency. And some of them have already been saying that the government was thinking about telling people like, hey, if you get this under your skin, we'll give you $2,000 a month. But there's going to be stipulations that come with that. First off, that's not a lot of money. But I already know, like, people struggling, they're going to be the first ones to take it. On top of young people that's just like, ooh, cool, convenience.
Yeah.
They're
It's like
going
a
to
desperation thing. I don't know. I hesitate to say that is going to be the mark of the beast, because we can never know God's timeline. And there's still things that I think there's still things that have to happen. And that's where eschatology starts to get nuanced, because some people are like, we're already in the tribulation, therefore it's very likely that something like this could actually be the mark of the beast. Others say that the rapture has to happen first. Others say that the tribulation has been going on for a long time, and the destruction of the temple in AD 70 was like the end times, or that we're already in the millennial kingdom. There's so many different views, so it's really hard to pinpoint. But I would say, at least in my opinion, okay, so we're talking opinion here, but I'd say that, like, when it comes down to it, I think the choice is going to be less of like a convenience thing and more of an allegiance. Like, I think for Christians, it's going to be very, like, you know what you're doing. And this could be, okay, I'm going to reveal my bias here. I did read the Left Behind series. And when it came down to taking the mark of the beast, this was later in the series, so a lot happened for the for Revelation to unfold in the series. And again, this is fiction, but it was kind of helpful to think about what it could look like. And when it came down to it, everyone knew. Everyone, like, it was like the Antichrist was like the guy. Like, there were like people, you think people liked Obama back then? Like, this guy is gonna, or that people like Trump, this guy is going to be universally adored.
Yeah.
And so when he implements his system, I think this is going to be part of it. And then, by then, either the rapture will have happened, or so many signs are happening that Christians just know this is it. I don't think there's going to be that much confusion for Christians. Like, this is the mark of the beast. This is the allegiance to Satan over God. I don't know that we're here yet, because, like, I see these things and I think this is the beginning of the technology that can arise later on, but I don't know if this is the iteration of it. Same thing with the jabs too, for COVID. I was like, people were discussing that. Oh, well, this is it. This is the mark of the beast. People are caving. People are, I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think it's that. I think we're testing, like you said, we're testing people's compliance.
Mm-hmm.
What can we get away with? How far, are they willing to go for convenience or fear?
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think these are all test runs to see how far they can go, because they've already talked about the one world government and the one world religion. Mm-hmm. Whoever gonna be in charge of that, they gonna have to be universally loved and liked by most people, right? So to get there, if we can figure out people's compliance levels, because they keep saying by 2050, and I think we talked about this last week. I was like, just because they say that doesn't mean it's gonna happen, right? What did I say? I was like, stuff they wanted completed by 2012, they're just breaking ground on now. So all of this is going to take time. Mm-hmm. And like you said, whoever that ends up being, we're going to know, because we're Christian. It's just, it's going to be such a smack in the face when that person comes around. We're going to be like, this is it. This is the moment. This is probably, things are going to start happening based on Revelation. It's going to go down. But yeah, all this is test runs. Now, with that said, this being a test run, I'm still not doing it.
Yeah, I'm not super into the idea either.
Yeah, I'm still not doing it, because even outside of that, we keep seeing in China that they're already doing things like this for like the past, couple years now. And it had turned into the whole social credit system which really reminds me of that Black Mirror episode. And I do think America's going to get there at some point. I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime, but I do think with like all the test runs of like, let's see how many people will get this in their hand. Let's see how many people would do this or do that for convenience. How many people are going to hop on the digital coin wave so we can like phase out actual money. I think once they get enough people on there, they're probably going to test out that social credit system.
And they're already putting the measures in place in corporations with the ESG scores. So it's definitely on the horizon, I'd say. Yeah. Even if we don't see tribulation in our lifetime or in the lifetime of our children, I really think we're getting dangerously close to communism. But it's kind of like a technocracy. I don't know, like a crazy techno dystopian that we're approaching. I just got done with a book. I think I mentioned it to you, but not on the podcast.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if you're interested in the Christian response historically to communism, there is a great book called Live Not by Lies, and it just gives so much insight. And he applies it to not only what happened with the Soviets and the lead up to that, and how people were able to be convinced, and what it looked like, and how Christians stood up, and how many got sent to the gulags for being Christian, and what it means to suffer, all of these things, but then also brings it to our current world right now, in the way that we cancel people, in the way that the LGBTQ stuff pops off, and just this running away from Christianity that we have in our culture. And we're very much embracing some of the ideas that were happening back then. Super fascinating read. Again, Live Not by Lies. It's a good one.
Yeah, make sure y'all check that out. And then before we hop out of here, I am gonna just read the passage from Revelation before we move on to the last topic. So this is Revelation 13, 16 to 17. I'm reading from the NASB just because, we on the podcast. And it says, and he causes all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name.
See, and that's where I'm thinking there is going to be an obvious allegiance aspect, because right now it's just like your credit card stuff. But in the future, it's going to, at least from what it says here, it's going to bear the name or his number. Like, we're not just talking about like, oh, well, it's going to be like, no, I am devoted to this guy. Like, there's going to be no confusion on that. You're either choosing that or God.
Yeah. I actually saw a clip probably like 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know what movie or TV show it was from, but they were actually showing this woman. They had like laid her down on this like guillotine type thing. And they were telling her, they was just like, hey, are you going to accept the mark or not? And she was like, no. And they were like, you realize like this is death. And she was like, I'm aware. I'm cool with that. She's like, I'm not taking it. And he was like, okay, your choice. And then the thing came down and like took her head off. And I thought about that before too. And I was watching it and I was just like, that's going to be me this day ever comes. I'm not taking that mark.
Yeah.
I actually have a quick story, and I am going to speed run this because I've talked about this before on my channel. Don't ask me for video titles, y'all. I have no idea. But I did talk about this before on my channel. And basically, remember I told you last week at the beginning of my journey, bunch of weird spiritual stuff was happening to me. All right, so one night early on, me becoming a Christian, these two things walked in my room. Don't know what it was. They speak in some language. Don't know what that was either, because I've never heard that language in my life. And they slapped something on my forehead. I don't know what that was either, but I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm just shaking because I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. Next thing you know, it was like, boop, bop, 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 bang. Something destroyed them. I don't know what that was either. And then it like walked over. I'm just nervous because I'm just like, what's happening? And they like ripped it off my forehead. And they were basically just like, it's all right. You cool now. And then once again, after I have all these like weird things, light filled my room. Like it wasn't as dark as it was anymore. And then it was just like that piece of calmingness and sereneness. Every time I feel it, I've never felt like that level of calm and relaxed before, where I'm just like, oh, everything's okay. And it happened every time after like every little experience. Cause I think I mentioned that too last week. And I don't know. I've never experienced that before. And then, yeah, I don't know what that was. I told my Christian group and they was trying to hit you with the 666 on your forehead. I was like, I don't know what they slapped on my forehead, but
wow,
an angel,
that's incredible.
Yeah, like an angel or something knocked them out. It was like, we gonna remove this.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I tell you, a lot of weird stuff happened to me at the very beginning of my journey.
Man, I definitely have not had anything like that happen, but what a cool way to experience God is to like actually see a vision. I have never seen a vision before, but it's cool that you've had multiple.
Yeah.
Like even though it's probably very frightening until, you know, God shows up and like, I got you.
All of it was frightening. But like I told you last week, the way I was afraid of everything, I think that was like the test. I think it was just like, you know, Satan and them was like, you gonna come back. You ain't about to be over there that long because you scared of all this stuff. So we just gonna scare you. And I got scared, but then it would be like, I'm just gonna say God, I guess, was just like, I got you, it's all right. You good. You don't go nowhere. But it was weird because at that time I had nobody to really talk to about that because my husband wasn't like Christian at the time. So I tried to explain it to him and he's just like, what did you watch before going to bed? And I'm like, I didn't watch anything. I'm telling you what happened. And he's just like, okay, whatever. That didn't happen. Like he didn't believe me. And it was just like nobody to talk to about it. And you really question yourself. You're like, am I crazy? Like I've never had any of this happen in my life and now I'm Christian and it's just happening. Am I losing it? Like
yeah, and I think that's completely natural to have questioned yourself, especially if you're not getting like the confirmation from someone else, you know, and they're like, yeah. I get it. I would question myself too. Like, did that happen? But, you know, I mean, you know when you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. And luckily that Christian group that I'm in they was just like, oh, this sounds like this is what happened, but, you know, it sounds like you're going through spiritual warfare. So just like, read this, pray, do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to y'all because you got all the experience. I don't. I could have easily been like, y'all tripping, they tripping, I'm done.
Yeah. And it's a good thing you didn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But guys, let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think of the little biometric hand thing, the mark of the beast, the CBDC? Let us know, and we might pick your comment to react to in next week's episode. Hey, once the podcast is over and you guys have a minute, go ahead and check out my channel. It's titled It's Your Girl Saying. Basically, I go over life topics, Christianity topics. I live stream every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we do what's called the Conservative Christian Show, where we go over all the topics in culture and we look at it through a Christ-focused perspective. You know, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have a show called Christian Game Room where I'm playing video games, but in between segments or pausing the game or whatever, we're having talks about the Bible. We're having talks about God, right? You guys may even bring things to my attention about what's going on in certain areas of Christianity. We just have nice long discussions about all of it. And if you're into any of that gaming, culture, Christ, all of it, make sure to check out my channel. You will not be disappointed. All right, last topic of the podcast. So I don't know if you guys have been seeing this go around, but this isn't the first time this picture has maneuvered around. But basically, this mother and son both transitioned to a father and daughter, which is very weird. The kid's name over here, who's, I think maybe they were a teenager at this point, and they're actually a grown adult now, which I didn't know when this was going viral the last couple of times. But basically, their name's Corey, so it's from their page. They said, sometimes our children lead the way. Corey, 14, socially transitioned from boy to girl in the past few years. She gave her mom, Eric, who used to be Erica, the courage to begin her own transition from female to male. They're moving in opposite directions, but toward their true selves. So this was basically like a decade ago. This was their journey. And I would say, based on timing, I guess they've been doing this for 2 decades now, right? Okay. So I know some people are just like, okay, so this son and mom both transitioned. I watched a video on The Real Story. It seemed like the mom really just didn't like her circumstances or herself. So she wanted to transition because she had a husband, and I guess she still has a husband, I think. Because in that video, he did talk, but I don't know how up to date that video is, considering this picture keeps getting passed around, and this picture is like a decade old. But she had a husband, and I guess he was okay with this, because at first he said he was questioning if he was gay or not when she transitioned, and then he was like, no, I'm not gay. So he like stayed with her. And then for whatever reason, she also transitioned the son. I don't know why. I don't know why she would transition the son as well. What ended up happening, they tried to paint this, like, they had got like a YouTube channel for the son, who's a girl now. And they tried to paint this picture of like, oh, they're happy now. It's just their true self and everything. Corey is now an adult. Corey is now like 23 or something. And Corey does OnlyFans plus other porn. And he came out with a video not too long ago, basically explaining that he got kicked out of that house years prior because YouTube videos wasn't what it seemed. There's a lot of craziness going on in their home, and it couldn't stand to be there anymore. So Corey went out on his own. Corey did not know what to do for money, but they were like, I'm going to figure it out. And that led Corey to the porn world. So that is where we are now. I don't know how somebody found him in porn. I'm going to be real with you, but they did, which is how that got shared, with everybody. And basically, we've talked about this before. All of this happens when you don't love yourself. And it didn't fix anything because apparently the mom who transitioned to the dad still has issues and problems that never got addressed. You just changed your body. And now you ruined your kid's body because it looks like they transitioned the son at like an extremely young age. Like they
put him on puberty blockers and everything.
Yep. Yeah. Like they made him think at like 5 or 6 that he was a girl. And he wasn't. So he never got the chance to experience being a boy. And now he's an adult with like self-love issues doing porn. It's sad.
That's super sad. And this just really reiterates the fact that like as families, we absolutely have to ground ourselves in Jesus Christ, because when you don't, the spiritual attacks don't cease. There will always be some force, whether it's through lust, whether it's through depression, whatever it is, to get you away from God's reality and the plan that he has for your life, and convince you that this other path is going to make things all better. Mm-hmm. Right now, that path that's prominent in our culture, in our country, coming from the top levels of government, is transitioning children. and transitioning yourself. I don't advocate it for, look, we need to ban transgenderism. I'm going to Michael Knowles this place up and say that. Like, obviously, I don't know that we should ban it in America. I don't know that that's the answer, but it should just be eradicated. It really should, from the top down. It's demonic.
It is.
And this is an example of a family that has fallen for the lie.
Mm-hmm.
And when you root yourself in Jesus Christ, the true word of God,
mm-hmm.
You'll see this before it starts. You'll see, hey, there's something misaligning with my heart and body. Let me pray.
Yeah.
What's the Christian council answer for this? I don't know. You know?
I mean, all we can do is pray, because I mean, it puts us in such a weird position, because if you tell somebody, hey, you shouldn't do this because we're looking out for their best interest, you're a bigot and a transphobe. It's like, you should let them do whatever they want. Like, people want you to affirm it, and it's like, I don't want to affirm it because I already know where this is going to lead. I love them enough not to affirm it, but then you're looked at sideways because, you know, good is now evil and evil is now good, and it puts us in this weird predicament. So all we really can do is pray they come out of this, because there's a lot of people who detransitioned that was like, yeah, I was sad and upset and this was not the answer. And now I'm really sad and upset because I wrecked my body.
Yeah. And a lot of them will come out and say, you know, I wish there were people around me who loved me enough to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So all these people who are affirming them and doing all these things, you're not helping them. They might not see it now, but they will. Hopefully. They'll see it when it's way too late. And the ones that did not affirm and the ones who loved them enough to tell them the truth of the gospel are the ones that they're going to remember and possibly even call.
Yeah.
All these other wishy-washy, like, oh, I'm a, you know, say what I got to say to make you happy. You do you, girl. That's not love.
Not at all. And I wish people would understand that, but we're never going to win that battle. As sad as that is, we're never going to win that battle, because too many people, they just think you're like a bigot, especially if they know you're Christian. They're going to throw everything in there. They're going to be like, you and your stupid religion, and you hate everybody, blah, blah. It's like, I don't hate anybody. I love you enough to tell you the truth, and that's how it should be. Like, I'm not going to affirm your delusions. Like, I'm going to tell you need to get help.
Live not by lies.
Yeah. So.
One of the things that guy mentioned in the book too was sometimes even when you don't believe in it, but you go along to get along. So like you compromise and you're like, well, I'll just call them they, it's not a big deal. Or I'll just call Erica, or whatever. I think it's the other way around for that lady. But
yeah.
But you know, these little things they're no better than going along with the, okay, how do I word this? Hold on. It's no better for your soul to give into the lie than to compromise on your values. And you never know how much you're giving away by staying silent, or just like, oh, well, I don't want to lose this opportunity for this job or whatever. But you just, okay, well, it's not lying if I don't, you know, use the wrong name or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is lying. It is lying. You know that person's name. Even, okay, I guess the name doesn't matter as much because that could just be changed. But you know this person is a man. You know this person is a woman. You know that transitioning that child was horrible. And transitioning yourself is not going to make you feel any better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really think that we need to be very conscious as Christians to not buy into the lie. Live not by lies. I love the name of the book, and I'm trying to, like, anytime like a situation pops up where it's like, okay, how am I going to approach this? Live not by lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it doesn't help anything or anybody in long run. You have to be truthful, and it's just sad. It's just sad because that kid never had a chance. Because, at 5 or 6, you're going to do whatever your parents tell you to do. And by the time you get old enough to have any sort of memories, you're just going to be like, I don't really remember if I wanted to be a girl or not, but I guess I did because my parents said I did. You don't know. You don't really have a full grasp of anything.
Yeah, and now the indication that her life is really in shambles is the fact that he is doing porn.
Yeah.
That usually happens
crazy.
when you have, a terrible upbringing, or some sort of trauma in your life undealt with.
Yeah. Or you're just stupid, because I remember Lawrence Fishburne's daughter. I mean, couldn't ask for a better life. And it was like, I want to do porn. And she was like, what? Why? You have the world. And she did, what's the guy's name? I think it was like Brian Pumper or something. She did like one thing with him, and then that was it. It's like, you've ruined your life because now this is out there with him. So this porn video is never going away. And then to top it off, now the way people look at you, like trying to get a job or anything. Because Mia Khalifa went through that. When she tried to leave Pornhub alone and get like a regular job, she was noticed by everybody. Mm-hmm. And the company had to fire her. And it's like, well, duh, you're a known porn star.
Yeah, it's just not a good look for us here at, ABC 123 company. Yeah. No company, unless it's like sexual in nature, is going to be interested. They just don't want the heat,
Yeah, they don't need the backlash, because you already know most guys that go in, they're going to be like, hey, I know you. Like, and that's going to be like a constant brought up thing. And it's like, we don't need to be dealing with this. Life ruined. Like, now don't get me wrong. Anybody can come back from anything. You could change your life around. You could find Christ and try to be a new person and everything. It's just going to be harder because of that past. Mm-hmm. There's actually an ex-porn star. She's married to a pastor now, which is, I thought that was kind of crazy, because I'm like, bro, you a good one, because you really overlooked a lot. But when they had their interview, he was even explaining how hard it was. Because even though she was years removed from that life, and he knew her as a friend in the church for like years before he even decided to start dating her and then, proposing, he didn't really know. Like, she told him at one point while they were dating, like, hey, I used to live this life. And he was like, I don't care, because that's not you anymore. It didn't hit him till he proposed. And a bunch of guys he knew was just like, you know who that is, right? And they're just bombarding his email box at work with videos.
Wow.
And he says it still happens to this day, and it's been like years. And he's like, it's just rough sometimes. And I'm like, I bet. Wow. I bet it is.
See, and it's like her decision, that sin that she engaged in, you can't avoid the consequences. You can become a new creation, but sin has consequences in this life. So if you're out here, doing pornos, and your husband now has to deal with being bombarded in that way, which is, gosh, I can't even imagine how terrible that is for him. But even with her being a new creation, that decision still has, these consequences that are unforeseen. So it's like, when it comes to pornography, or even when it comes to transgenderism, do you realize that there is no walking back from that? This child is forever going to have the scars of this decision that you made, that you allowed as a parent. Yep. Not to mention the example that you're setting when you transition. You can't walk back from that either. Forever, you're going to be known as the one who did this, Yep. And even if they are redeemed by Christ, there's still going to be consequences in this life, on this side of heaven. Yeah. And they might not be very pretty.
Yeah. Nobody ever thinks about that. Like, when you hear the detransitioners, the talk that actually went through with the surgeries, it's over from there. Like, if you were the woman that was like, I want to be a man now, and you go through that whole process, right? you're not getting your breasts back. You could probably get like some fake ones to kind of look natural, but it's not real. In terms of your vagina, that's done. You can't get a new one of those. So it's wrecked either way, even if you're like a man trying to become a woman. It's as soon as you do that, no matter what race, no matter what sex you go to, I think somebody said like you trying to have like actual sexual orgasm and pleasure, it's over. You're never going to truly experience it because those fake parts don't have feelings. So
yeah, see, never go with the counterfeit. Always go with the real thing.
Yeah,
it might not be as shiny and amazing as like this new validation that you're getting from walking this path, but it's better to just not when it comes to that. And there's so much evidence that this gender affirming care model is not effective at all. It might be great in the short term, but long term is when we start to see this, spike in suicidality and depression and anxiety about those decisions. So I really feel for the people who are lost in the deception and are so offended by the truth, because I don't know if there's a way to reach those people,
There has to be. It's probably just hard. It's probably just hard to reach them, but I'm more optimistic now. So
well, that's great.
I was trying to look at like the positives of, but the reality it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're headed toward transhumanism.
Yeah.
And we started here with transgenderism. So I think, this is another, let's see how far we can get with it and how people react to it and how society turns on itself about it. And then we'll, go to the next phase.
Yeah. That's like that South Park episode where Kyle wanted to be like on the basketball team and he couldn't get on because he was like a short white Jewish kid and all the players on the team were like tall black guys. So he got the surgery to be a tall black guy. But we're seeing that too, guys making themselves taller. But like you can't run, you can't jump, which is literally that episode. The episode's so old too. And they were just like, yeah, you can't, it's just for aesthetic. You can't run, jump, or anything. You're going to blow your knees out. And then the dad's like, I always wanted to be a dolphin. He had the surgery. And they're like, but you can't really go be a dolphin, though.
South Park always getting it right.
Yeah, they're always on it. And I think those episodes are like a decade old, too. So they were like spot on so long before all of the nonsense of today.
It's craziness. Craziness.
It is.
Don't be transgender, guys. It really is a choice. You don't have to do it.
Just love yourself. That's what it comes down to. You need to have self-love. Because that's where all these people are missing out on. And it's so crazy. They're just like, you can't use gender to determine who you want to be, but then they literally use gender to determine what they want to be. Because it's just like, oh, when I was a little girl, I just played with Tonka trucks a lot. So that must mean I wanted to be a boy. It's like, no, you just liked playing with Tonka trucks. I did too. I was a tomboy. Didn't mean I wanted to be a man. Just meant like I was raised by, like I was surrounded by a lot of guys. So naturally, despite being a girl, like if they're playing with wrestling dolls, it's just kind of like, ooh, me too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you hit a certain age and you're just like, I'm going to start dressing more feminine and doing this. But like that stuff never changed. I still liked basketball and video games and all that. But I also was like, ooh, that boy fine. Like, like y'all just gotta love yourselves. Dang.
Yeah. And honestly, there was a quote. Let's see if I can even remember. I'll probably butcher it. But if you look within yourself, you'll be depressed. Or no, okay. If you look outside of yourself, you'll be stressed. If you look within yourself, you'll be depressed. And if you look to God, you'll be okay, I totally butchered it. I don't remember. It was so good too.
If you look towards God, you will be healed.
Oh, it was something that rhymed with the other words.
All right, well, I tried.
That's okay. We can cut that part out.
That might make sense though, because the word, so in the Bible, the verse where Jesus says we are supposed to be perfect like his Father, it's not perfect as we know it in English terms. I think it was like the Hebrew or Greek, whatever the original word was in, meant like completed. So we are supposed to become a more completed person with his Father versus, but people don't understand that. I guess if you don't know the actual words it came from the translations. So when they hear perfect, what do we always say as Christians? It's like, we're not perfect. The only perfect person is Jesus. It's like, that's correct, but that's not what that talks about. What you're saying is probably the same thing. Like, you look inside yourself, you're like depressed and all that. But if you look towards God, God is going to help you become a more complete person to where you're like happy.
Yeah.
That's probably what that is.
I really wish I would have remembered the word that's supposed to be in that little quote thing, but fail, Jasmine, fail.
It don't
but
matter.
Yeah, absolutely. We can only find through Christ. There's just no other way. There really isn't. Everything else is a temporary band-aid or a complete deception at worst.
Yep.
So come to the Father, people. He really does love you so much.
He does. And he welcomes everybody as long as you're willing to become a new creation under him. Like, he don't care what you've been through. That's something people need to understand as well. I think there's this misconception where they think Christians are perfect. And it's like, none of us are perfect. We all have a past.
Yeah, I don't think they think we're perfect, but that we are holier than thou for wanting to live a life that's set apart and wanting to call out sin so that other people can come to repentance and find freedom. So they see it as like, oh, you guys are holier than thou or hypocritical. And it's like, not really, though. We recognize that we are so broken and fallen that we need a savior. We're just trying to show you that you also need the savior.
Yeah, which is where the comment you mentioned earlier, where the person was like, no way you used to be atheist because you wouldn't be what you are now. And it's like, you need to understand we all have a past. We all are born into sin. We're all broken, just like you said. And I think more non-believers need to understand that. It's like, you're never so far gone where he's not going to take you back. You can be the worst person in the world. And I think that's what blew a lot of people's mind. The whole, what was with Charles Manson when he was in jail? They did the whole TV show, Netflix series about him. Because ain't he the one that ate the people? He would have sex with gay guys and then eat them or something.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay. That's who it was.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of Christians that were like so upset when they found out he like gave his life over in prison. Because they're like, no way he's going to heaven and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, there's probably a chance if he was like sincere and he actually gave his life up to God. And because God only knows, like, if that's the truth, yeah, he probably made it. Like, I don't know what the consequences would be because of all the crazy stuff he did, but like, that's between him and God. Like,
yeah,
if God thinks he's good enough to be up there, he's up there.
That's right.
That's not for us to decide.
Yeah. If he had a true experience, a true conversion, then yes, the Bible does say that he is redeemed.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? He caused so much harm and he was very evil. But to that, I would say not that all of us are murderers or cannibals or anything like that. But if God were to eliminate evil tonight at midnight, would you survive? I think all of us have some things that we need to get right with God. So that would be kind of where my mind goes when it comes to like, oh, not Jeffrey Dahmer, though. He was a special kind of evil. I don't know that we're that much cleaner than anyone else.
We're not. We like to rank sin because we're humans. So it'd be like, I've never done anything crazy. And you'd be like, have you lied before? Of course I lied, but I've never cheated on my spouse. And it's like, okay, but you lied. So that's sin. And God is just looking at everything equally. God's just not like, you're right, you lied, but this is a lower pedestal than murder. So you're okay. And I think most people think that way, that like don't believe. They're just like, I'm a good person because at least I'm not a murderer or a rapist.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, okay, but God had a pretty serious, track record of putting other gods before him. There's a lot of people, especially atheists, who have made themselves God. They don't think God's real, so they blaspheme the Holy Spirit, they blaspheme the Father, and then they elevate themselves as God. I can do whatever I want because I'm basically God. They may not say it in that language, but that's the intention of the heart. So when it comes to ranking sin, not looking so great for anyone who does that either, So I would say we all, as humans, we all need to humble ourselves and come like him, or come like little children to him. Because that's what the Bible says, to have childlike faith.
Yeah. But people don't, it's sad because people don't understand that though. Most people want proof. And I've dealt with this before on my channel where I watch like the videos of like Ron Wyatt and stuff. And we should actually run a podcast like this one day about faith and just make that the whole podcast. But I remember watching those videos amongst others, and people that don't believe coming in, it was just like, you Christians don't even understand how your own religion works. You're supposed to have faith and you're sitting here trying to show proof and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, correction, I have faith. I already know God real. I was like, this is for you. This is for you to understand. And I had people in my real life where I tried to break stuff down and they'd be like, yeah, if it's true, wouldn't we know? And I'd be like, actually, there's biblical evidence for this. You try to show it to them. And they're just like, that's false. And I'm like, you didn't even read it. I will pull it up on my phone and show it. I'd be like, see? And they'll just glance at it and they'd be like, that's false. I don't believe that. It's like, but you didn't read it. Doesn't matter. That's not real. It's like, well, how do you know? You don't even know what I'm about to like tell you.
Yeah. And it's just sad because that's just evidence of hardness of heart. The only one that can change that is Christ. And sometimes, you can give all the evidence in the world. You can say anything towards Christ, and unless they themselves feel it in their soul, it's not going to matter. And that's what's really tragic about it,
Yeah. I just find it funny because it's like, show me proof. It's like, here you go. I reject it. Because that's basically what's happening.
Yeah.
It's well, don't ask me then. Like, I gave it to you. Don't ask me then. All right, y'all. I know we went off on a little tangent as always, but let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think about transgenderism? We're just gonna keep it simple. Or how do you personally feel about the son and mother that turned into the daughter and father? I have to keep thinking about it. I keep thinking like, am I about to mess this up? See, y'all see what transgenderism is doing? I can't remember what y'all were turning into. Let us know in the comment section down below, and we might pick your comment to respond to on next week's episode. All right, y'all. Well, that is the end of the show. Thank you for joining us for another episode of So This is the World Christian Podcast. Thank you for kicking it with us. Once again, I'm your host, Michelle. This is your other host, Jasmine. Thank you for joining us. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss when we drop a video. And now that we're done, head on over to Jasmine's channel. It is called Bold Reflections. She be dropping videos once a week now. I know it was more, but once a week. Yeah. She just dropped one for you guys. It would have been Tuesday, so a few days ago. Go over there, check it out. Check out all the videos. She got like a bunch of them. Make sure you subscribe too while you're over there. And then when you're done, head on over to my channel. It's called It's Your Girl Saying. Check out the live streams, the video game playbacks, the videos. There's a bunch of stuff over there too. And with that said, we will see you guys next time.